Good evening, Bill.
Good evening, Sandy. How are you?
I'm fine. You are the returned American from Paris. Not the
Yes, with a
American
little bit
in
of jet
Paris.
lag. I'm American, formerly in Paris.
Yes. How was it?
It was, it was delightful. We got to see a lot of amazing art,
Hmm.
and then we ate a bunch of croissants, and then
What
we
now?
croissant, and then we came home. Uh, but the art was incredible. Went to a few that I hadn't been to, so that was kind of exciting.
Mm. And when you were there, you told me just before the show started that you went to an exhibition, an impromptu visit, actually, to a very fine exhibition of black and white prints.
I
Um,
did
what was that like?
Noir and Blanc. It's at the Bibliothèque Nationale, which is down way east, the new modern one.
And
I'm
what
not gonna
genre?
say it. I think it was in the 16th or
What's the
19th.
other word you want to say with that now?
No, I will not say it. You're gonna say it. But yes, it was really something. And it's funny, I just bumped into it because we happened to be there to go see these other Globe things, and I walked into this show, and it was just absolutely stunning. It was just a really well curated collection of black and white photographs by people like from 1900 until today. So it was a very wide exhibit, but it wasn't, they didn't stick everyone together by time. They stuck people together by like, oh, these all used a bare light bulb in the shot while shooting them. These are ones that were going for contrast. These are ones that are, infrared landscapes or whatever it is. And so like each little section you walked into was five or six photographers who all had something in common that weren't necessarily anywhere near each other in time or space, which was just, it was just really neat the way they put it all together.
Hmm.
So if you were in Paris, uh, take the RER way out there, or the 6 line
To the where now?
on the metro to the Bibliothèque Nationale.
Well done, Bill. We
Hey,
rehearsed that beforehand.
I'm very French now. Parlez-vous français?
For us this evening, masked up, mm,
Yep.
kind of leading on from talking about performance, actually.
Okay.
Mask, wearing the mask. What is the mask? Are we always masking?
I don't like masks as a general rule.
Hmm. Yeah, lots of people have problems with masks, like actual masks, scary masks. People find them frightening. Like people don't like clowns, do they? Often
Nope.
people are.
I don't like Halloween.
Hmm. Do you think you wear a mask, Bill?
Um, I think I can put on a mask, but I think that normally I probably wear less of a mask than most people. I think that's why people don't like me.
Well,
She's like, that's not why people don't like you.
there are many reasons why people don't like you. Um, I am thinking though that if you believe yourself to be maskless, is that a deception, a self-deception? Think about the many iterations of Bill Woodman, depending on who
Sure.
Bill Woodman is being or is with.
I think I'd do better to consciously put on more masks.
Explain that. That's interesting.
Um, I don't hide my feelings very well, and that often gets me in trouble. I'd be better keeping my reactions closer to my vest. If I disagree with something, I have a hard time not saying so or calling somebody out on it, as you can see from the 50 or so episodes of this we've done.
Hmm. I mean, masks in art
Sure.
everywhere we have. an ancient history of masks for ritual and ceremony. We have masks for play. We have masks for masks' sake, actual masks.
Mhm.
And then we have layers of personae in art. I mean, Cindy Sherman's our first image from her film still series.
Even back then, who is Cindy Sherman then? Is she any of these people or is she none of them?
Well, indeed, I wonder is the artist always masking, whether or not they consciously adopt a persona that is not what they believe themselves to be. I'm wondering about the belief. Like, I believe myself to be something,
Sure.
but is that belief the mask?
We saw there was a Van Gogh exhibit going on at Musée d'Orsay while we were there. And the first image when you walk in is this self-portrait on a blue background, which I had never seen before, which I think is there at that museum. And I don't remember seeing it before, but I'm sure it was there.
Hmm.
And I mean, he's a good Van Gogh is a good example because like he is visually interpreting that into paint, right? And he did a lot of self-portraits like that. And so how he sees himself, he can actually make himself the way he sees himself. Where Cindy Sherman, I mean, she can make it up, but it's still a literal version of whatever she's making herself up to be, right? You know what I mean? There's no level of like psychological interpretation in there. It's all physical manipulation.
Yeah, I mean, when reading about Sherman, even as a child, she had an interest in props and in dressing up. And the fascination with film stills is really about, adopting personae that were kind of rooted in like feminist notions about the female, the woman.
Tropes, yeah.
Mm.
Do you think it's also an age thing? Because she was fairly not super young, but she was young at the time.
She was young
I
there,
also,
but, she's still going for it now, isn't she?
oh sure, yeah. But I mean, like, what is this? 50 years later, 40 something years later. I just, it's, I, I also think that I think there are people who put on masks because they don't really know who they are, and so they try on other people's masks, right?
Right.
Um,
I mean, I know that I did that all through my teens, very
sure.
consciously. I watched a
Let me
movie.
try this. Let me try that.
Yeah,
Sure.
I
Yeah.
watched a movie and I thought the girl in the movie was funny or smart or pretty or anything, and then that was it. We were all at it. I'm wondering if we ever actually stop being at that game. And it is a game, isn't it? It's the game of deception, but it's also
Yeah.
it's like a game of life deception, isn't it? For a lot of people. What again it really interests me is when people aren't aware of the mask, yet they definitely have one, or indeed are one. I spoke in school the other day in college about masks, and some of the images that I've got today are from the presentation I did with A-level fine artists. And I was questioning with them, whether we become the mask we wear and whether there's any longer a separation. Once we've lived in the mask for so long, we can no longer take it off. Nonetheless, it's a mask.
Sure.
I'll go back to my point about, or my questioning myself. Is my belief in what I think I am a mask? So all this kind
Yeah.
of rhetoric around I take the mask off, I reveal myself, you see the real me, that in itself is a device.
Well, and how much of the real you is just your reaction to the outside world? So therefore, you didn't get to choose it in the first place. So is it really you, or is that a mask made by other people?
Hmm. I mean, I look at Sherman's work and I do think I see Cindy Sherman.
You think you
Regardless
see her
of how
through
many
the mask?
iterations, different iterations I encounter, I see Cindy Sherman. And perhaps, playing with the irony there, she's documented this as well, the sense that the more she deceives us with her plays and her funny props and wigs and costumes, the more we actually get to grips with her. Whereas when we strip all of that away and we have somebody maybe making something that we might think of as a pure portrait, maybe that in itself is like the biggest lie.
Sure.
We're always performing.
I wonder if, the thousands of people I've photographed in my life, how many of them actually look at my picture and think that is the real them. They may like the picture, they may not like the picture. But I think it's different than.
I reflect on being photographed by you, and I know in our case it was, you know, rather haphazard, probably compared to what you're used to, because we had such a short amount of time when we were together. Mm. And you're my friend, and I feel confident and comfortable in your company. But I was only being a particular version of myself.
What version was that? Could you describe that version?
Well, the things that make up the mask, I mean, the thing that made up the mask in that case, I do remember it actually, because I was feeling rather rotten. I'd had COVID and I was still feeling a bit rubbish. I really desperately wanted to be seen as being vibrant. I mean, that sounds very basic, doesn't it? I was feeling rather unwell. I wanted to be vibrant and pretty for the camera, even though I was feeling like total shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also about a legacy. I was aware of the photograph being like legacy. So my mask would be retained as long as the photograph is seen.
Yeah.
And so if my mask is one of vitality and vibrancy and beauty, however conceited that sounds, it makes me feel like that lives as a legacy. The mask lives. The Sandi Robertson really is dead.
That's dark.
No, but you, anyone is passing through time.
Sure.
Right. So being conscious of images that are made of me or that I make of others, they are the masks that we see for time.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that, yeah, 50 years from now, maybe one of those happens to be the picture that gets remembered of you for some reason.
It's also some of the only pictures actually of me. I'm very seldom photographed, which is a shame because I've said this before, but I love being photographed.
I'm going to be a guest on a migraine sufferers podcast that I don't know, some Neurology of America organization does next week.
Hmm.
And they needed a picture of me. And I have so few photographs of myself that are like good enough to be used as sort of a headshot.
Hmm.
And I sent one and they complained that it was too grainy.
Hang
And
on, what about
I
the one
said,
that I took of you?
no, because that one is too shadowy for what they need. Like it's too hard light. So I was gonna send them that one, but then I was like, yeah, they needed one that was cleaner on my face. And so I found one, but it's funny that it's like the cobbler's children, right? Have no shoes. Like I don't even have a decent picture of myself, let alone of all the pictures that I have of other people. But yeah, no, I get it. It's well, you're gonna have to, one of these days we're gonna have to take some real pictures of you, take our time when you don't have
Certainly
COVID.
not. I've seen the painting you want to pose me like, and it's not happening.
That painting's amazing. Uh, but it is I think that there are people though who hide. I think you may have a mask, I may have a mask, but that's different than people who are hiding behind a mask, like this gorilla here.
I mean, are masks an act of sabotage?
Sometimes, but sometimes they're an act of anonymity.
Okay. Are masks an act of terrorism or of love?
Both.
Mm. I mean, the act of love that is the mask is the mother telling the child that everything is okay when it's really not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, sure. But what is the alternative?
Well, I mean, we use, again, in a kind of vernacular way, we are using mask, like we unmask. There's a great unveiling of the truth. Some people's minds seem to think that we come to a point and the truth is revealed. There's a grand unmasking. We find out secrets or answers to questions, and we have a moment of clarity, or
Like
perhaps
in life, we're all Poirot for a minute or something.
what was that?
We're all Poirot or something, like Agatha
Poirot.
Christie.
Is that you
Yeah.
trying to speak French again? Dear God.
But is you know what I mean? Like where it's like, oh yes, I'm going to explain all of this and it's going to make perfect sense.
Yes, but I mean, has that really ever happened?
No. But
It's
that's
curious
true of
also.
our inside of our own lives though, right? I mean, that goes deep.
Yes, I mean, when one is looking for insight, insight doesn't happen because insight doesn't happen. Insight
No.
is.
Insight is a noun, not a verb.
Insight is not located behind the mask because it is not anywhere and it is everywhere, right?
Right.
Yet we seem to think that we will find gain insight should we unmask. Anyway, I mean, that's slightly out of context for the image that we've got. It's a Guerrilla Girls poster from 1987. They were really pissed off, as they usually are, about, quite rightly, the fact that there had been so few women's shows at the greatest galleries around the educated US. And the Whitney was the one on their hit list this time. They obviously, as you can tell looking at it, those who don't know Guerrilla Girls are a group of anonymous artists and activists, women who all name themselves after other female artists. They wear these gorilla masks and they really are at war with the establishment. The masks for me are a really interesting play on what they do and what they stand for. I understand the kind of cuteness of gorilla and gorilla, but the thing that they seek to redress is so bold and important that I do wonder about the wearing of masks to execute that work.
But you could argue that had they not been doing the mask thing, then the it would be about them. It wouldn't be about their meaning, right? By anonymizing themselves, it's no longer about Janet, whatever her name is, or whoever it is. You know what I mean? It's about the problem, not about them.
Yeah, I mean, they become pop-tastic, don't they? They become like the Spice Girls if we see their faces.
Yes. Yeah.
At the same time, isn't it a shame that culturally that's how we deal with their quest? Is that actually they do, you're right, they need to be anonymized.
But I wonder how much it is is that culture or is that just human, the way we look at things as humans, human nature?
I need to think about that for longer. I mean, what really is amazing is that, 1987, the work I'm showing tonight is all roughly kind of a decade apart each time, 10 to 15 years apart. And for each image, I show, I think there is that kind of feminist subtext, even if that's not necessarily the intention of the artist or artists. I think there is a mask that is about simply a vessel, being a vessel. There is the
Do you
mask
think
that enables, and then there's the mask, again, from a feminist perspective, that is about, the beauty myth. And maybe in this case, again, I'm not sure Wearing did cite this as a factor in her work, but, the point of aging or the relationship to self as a woman as we move through phases of our lives that are of great importance.
it is interesting though you chose 3 images that are of women? You don't think men wear masks?
Just because I chose images of women does not mean that men don't wear masks. That's like
I
saying,
know,
hang on, wait, that is like saying that when I show images by men, that women don't share the same concerns, Bill.
no, but you often talk about the beauty myth or the aging or time and stuff, and you tend to look at it from a very female perspective,
So you keep telling me.
where I don't know if it's equally true, but I think it's also true of men.
Mm. Are you telling me that I'm seeing things through a female lens?
Yes.
Are you speaking that to me from your male position?
Yeah, I guess I'm mansplaining to you right now.
Mm. Please don't.
I just
You
think that
you can't even speak French, for God's sake.
hey, Poirot was Belgian, right? Wasn't he?
Let's not split hairs between the Flemish and the French. I mean, let's go back to where the Bibliothèque Nationale is located, for example. Anyway, that's a
Yes.
conversation for another time.
But I just it's how would I know that Wearing is wearing a mask in this? Because she said so?
Well, I mean, this comes from a series. I don't know if you know this work at all, but
I don't know that. I don't think I know this series. No.
okay, so Gillian Wearing made a series of images that was self-portraits, and it was self-portraits at different stages. She also made images of, again, self-portraits, but as other people who were very close to her, like her parents.
Okay.
And she did that through actually donning prosthetic masks that were made to the specification of photographs that she had. I mean, in 2003, Gillian Wearing, I think, is 59 now. So how old would she have been in 2003? Like 47 or something.
Yeah.
So she's 47, making a self-portrait
Playing
as a
17.
17.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I've seen the masks. Yeah, those are creepy.
Are you
Like
looking
really
at?
creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to I remember those. Yes.
Yeah, it's an amazing body of work because we're looking at someone who's playing with what we think is a play of identity, but it's essentially the same identity.
Well, it all comes down to other people's perception of it, then, right? Is it about the mask you're wearing, or is it about the way others around you relate to how you are? Like, what is the mask in the eye of the beholder, or is it in the eye of the wearer?
Well, I mean, are you aware of the mask you put on?
I think a lot of people are. Yes.
Right. Um, are others watching aware when the mask is affixed and when it
I think
is
it depends
removed?
on the quality of the mask.
Mm. I know I'm trying not to speak too much in riddles, really, but we are
No, I understand.
at the thing, aren't we? You know me,
Yep.
or do you?
I don't know. You apparently your name isn't Sandy Robertson, according to sometimes when you talk to me. I don't. Are you an AI? Had I not met you in person,
Maybe I was but a shimmering apparition.
yeah. And even if you were, wouldn't that be real too?
Exactly. So then I guess we ask through the inquiry into the mask, what is real, what is truth. The mask is truthful, no?
I'm trying to decide if it's truthful. Sorry to go back to it, but if it's truthful for the person wearing it or the person viewing it, and if it matters. If I believe in the mask that I'm wearing, does that mean it's truthful? If I believe that the mask I'm wearing is the real me, does that mean that is the real me? I don't know.
When
As
you were
someone who takes,
in Paris,
yeah,
did you want people to think you were French?
no.
Did you put on your American mask?
Uh, I had a Patagonia coat on, which is a pretty bad indicator, probably. But mostly, I don't want to look like I'm an American because I don't want to be hassled. You know,
So
just
what's the
walking around.
mask you put over the top of that reality?
I think I have a slight advantage having lived in a major city for the last 30 years. You know what I mean? Where I think I can blend in more than the average person from Iowa. But I don't know. I tend to want to be anonymous, surprisingly so.
That's problematic because you're a very tall American and you're loud.
I know.
Can I say that it is a brilliant gift to be small and unassuming
It is.
because nobody ever notices me.
Yep. I am 6'1" and 190 pounds. Very obvious.
Hmm.
That's why when people take street pictures, it's like I'm a terrible street photographer. One, because I don't have any vision. Two, because I'm not good at it. And three, because I'm too big and noticeable. I don't blend in.
Hmm. I do think about this, and I'm sure I've mentioned it before. Very often in my life, I have been completely forgettable in the minds of people who've met me.
Do you think that's true? Have they said that to you, or is this just in your own mind, though?
No, no, I've encountered this several times with people who've actually had very long and very meaningful conversations with me, as far as I was aware. And then meeting them again, it's happened several times. They have no recollection at all that they've even met me.
Interesting.
And I've reflected on that a lot. And I've often wondered if it's because I'm either maskless
Yeah.
or they're talking to their own mask.
You're a mirror.
Yeah. So it's a really strange thing, I have to say, as the person who's the experiencer of being completely anonymous, unseen. It used to really narc me. It used to really get me annoyed because there's a massive ego reaction against being forgettable.
I think you have a way about you that is very absorptive.
What?
Like
What?
like um like a really plushy couch. Like the reactions that you get from talking with you often are like these things where like you absorb the energy and like a lot of it doesn't bounce back. And I think maybe people, yeah, it's like you yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've known you and talked to you far too long to ever forget you, but you know.
I'm like a plushy couch.
In a good way. You're just very yeah. You
Hmm.
never agree with anything that I say. You always go, and then you turn did you say what you're gonna say?
What I'm curious for now is that if anyone watching wants to leave in the comments whether they think that,
You're a
first of
plushy
all,
couch.
I'm like a plushy couch, but more importantly, what is the mask that is perceived? Because are we perceiving a mask and knowing that we perceive a mask at all?
I think all of social interaction is people in masks talking to each other.
Yeah. See, there I agreed with you.
There you go.
See you soon, Bill.
All right. See ya.